What does she think of herself? She's better than me? And he has the nerve to bring this chick to the house? You played the wrong game with the wrong girl, Ronald. Maggie put her binoculars down. She didn't want to cry, but the tears of anger flowed down her cheeks. She had been spying on Ronald for some time now, and she was devastated to find out the painful truth. Maggie was in her late 20s. She was a working woman who made the most out of her busy schedule. She spent time with Ronald. She went out with her friends. She even made space for workout routines at the gym every morning. Her friends thought she had the perfect life. They all thought of Ronald as an innocent, loving, and doting husband who came home to his wife and child playing together after a long, hard day of work. If only they knew what Maggie knew. Ronald was cheating on her. Unfortunately for Maggie, it wasn't that easy to catch a man like him red-handed. Ronald had cameras set up all around the house. He said they were to prevent crazy people from breaking in or prowling around the house. Apparently, there were stalkers in the neighborhood. Maggie and Ronald lived in Imperial, California, in a nice, large suburban home. Their neighborhood rarely had any petty crimes, let alone break-ins. Maggie knew the cameras were just a precaution, a secret alarm. To her, coming over from work, whenever he would have the other check inside. He would later clear out all the footage, leaving only evidence of him going out for work in the mornings or back from work alone. But when Maggie was home, she knew his mistress had been there. She found her clothes in the closet. Her earrings on the dresser. What did Ronald think? That she would be deluded her whole life? She wouldn't find out? Maggie even found out the babysitter was involved in it all. She was getting paid double to make sure Maggie wasn't around at the wrong time. It had been a few weeks since Maggie had been spying out. Every time she saw that woman enter the house, it enraged her so much, her blood boiled. And the more she witnessed it, the more she wanted to barge into the house right then and there and finish everything off. Maggie wanted to cry every time she remembered the last time she had actually been close with Ronald. It had been a while since they actually spoke to each other heart to heart. They had grown apart. Maggie thought it was her fault. She wasn't trying hard enough. She was ruining their relationship. But it wasn't her. It was him all along. He had someone else on his mind. Ronald, some of my friends are hosting a get-together. Everyone from the office will be there. I really want you to come. Maggie, I told you, I don't have time for these things. You don't have time or you just don't want to go? Look, it's not that. You know very well I don't have time on my schedule. I told you before, don't make plans with me. When I have a little spare time, I just want to spend it with you in privacy. We've been together for so long and most of my friends haven't even gotten to meet you. Does that really matter? What matters is to save our time for only each other. Now that Maggie rethought every conversation, every action, every gesture, She could see the double meaning behind it, the deceit, the pretension, and the cunningness. It was yesterday that Maggie had managed to go through his phone. There was a certain honey on his phone. It obviously wasn't Maggie's number. It read, "I'm missing you so much, babe. It's been so long since we got some time together. I'll be home from work early. It'll be just you and me." Maggie set her mind. It was time to end it all. She knew Ronald would be home earlier than usual, before her. Maggie left for work that morning, but she would be back. The babysitter was with the baby right now, but when Maggie would return home today, she would dismiss her once and for all. She was just another one of Ronald's greedy pawns. It wouldn't be hard to buy her out. Maggie barged across the front lawn and knocked on the door. The babysitter cracked open the door and looked out. She was a bit surprised and confused to see Maggie at the door. She looked at her and then across the street and whispered, "Mr. Ronald hasn't arrived yet. You're early?" Maggie walked in, pushing her aside. "You're off duty." The babysitter looked at her strange. "What do you mean? Mr. Ronald didn't tell me anything." The girl was young, only about 15 years old. Maggie looked at her sternly and took a wad of bills out from her bag. "Take this and leave." Seeing the money, the young babysitter didn't put up much of a fight and left Maggie be. Maggie went straight to the baby's room. She smiled at Emma. Sleeping sound. Maggie went back out and sat down in the living room. She put up her feet on the table and leaned back on the cushion, waiting. Waiting for that witch to arrive. Maggie was getting a little drowsy. But sharp at 5 p.m., she shook off all the sleep when she heard the noise of a car driving into the parking space. Maggie's heart started to pace fast. It was time to pull off the rest of the plan. Maggie went straight to Emma's nursery. In moments, she heard footsteps walking down the hall towards the room. The door behind her cracked open. Maggie stood firm, her back facing the door. She clenched her teeth. It was time for payback. But to her surprise, the woman walked straight past her without paying much heed. "Hey Nancy, how was everything?" she said as she went to the crib and started cuddling Emma. That witch was so blind, she mistook Maggie as the babysitter. But that's not what bothered Maggie. What bothered Maggie was she even knew the babysitter's name, how involved she was in Ronald's life. Maggie's eyes fired up with rage as she watched the woman cuddle Emma, whispering, "Hey there, cutie pie. Did you miss me? Did you miss Mama?" Hearing her say Mama tipped off Maggie's scale. What did this woman think of herself? Did she really think she would ever replace Maggie in Ronald's life? She would take Emma away from her? The woman patted Emma back to sleep, speaking over her shoulder. "I suppose you're ready for your pay then. I know Ronald told you he would double your pay. Today. Thanks for being here with us. We never would have gotten any time for ourselves if it wasn't for you. Just give me one moment. I think I left my purse in the living room." The woman smiled at Emma a last time before she turned around and froze in her place. Her eyes widened in confusion and fear. "Who are you?" Joanne sternly said. Maggie took out the flower vase that she had, gripping behind her back, and lunged forward, scowling at her. "Who do you think I am?" Maggie caught her off guard, just as she planned. She was out cold. Maggie stared at her, unconscious on the floor. "You think you're better than me? You think Ronald really loves you? You're just another woman. You could never take my place." Looking at the woman's pretty little face filled Maggie with disgust. Without giving her conscience another thought, she let her instincts take over. Maggie straightened out her shirt. Her hands were stained. She took a glance at Emma. She hadn't realized anything. Just then, Maggie heard a voice from the hall. It was Ronald, just on time. "Joanne, are you in the nursery?" So that was her name, Joanne. Maggie stepped out of the nursery. Ronald froze in his tracks. "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." The look in his eyes changed quickly to a glance of fear. He knew he was caught in his lie. "You thought I wouldn't find out? You thought you were going to get away with it?" Ronald tried to push Maggie aside, playing defensive. "Where's Joanne?" "Your mistress? You won't be seeing her anymore. In fact, you won't be seeing anyone anymore." Just then, Emma started to cry in the nursery. Maggie made a run for it as Ronald followed. He was horrified seeing Joanne laying lifeless on the floor. Emma screaming out in fear, seeing the mess around her. Maggie gripped the broken, stained vase off the floor and turned to Ronald. Ronald backed away. "Look, I'm sorry. I know what I did wasn't fair. I'll give you whatever you want, but just don't hurt the baby." Hurt the baby? How could he think I would hurt Emma? Maggie had enough of Ronald's drama. "I would never hurt our child," she said as she pounced on Ronald. Ronald furrowed his brows. "Our child?" he yelled before everything went black. Maggie dropped the vase and immediately went to soothe Emma. She took her out of the crib and got her ready. Emma was young. Hopefully, she wouldn't remember anything. Maggie cleaned her stained clothes and grabbed the keys. She locked Emma in her car seat and pulled out of the driveway. The police would arrive soon. Before they would take Emma away from her, she had to get out of here. She would go to a new city, start a new life, find a better husband. "Don't worry, Emma. Everything's gonna be fine. Mama's here." A man named Ronald Koenig and his wife Joanne Koenig were found lifeless in their family home in Imperial, California, their infant child missing. During the investigation, a witness came forth to testify the culprit's identity. Apparently, Ronald Koenig had been involved in an extramarital affair, and things seemed to get out of hand. I wasn't involved in anything but that I hid Mr. Ronald's affair from his wife. He was giving me a lot of money for it. I didn't think things would get out of hand. I was just there to take care of the baby. You heard it, folks. A tragic event for the Koenig family. Keep your eyes out for this woman. Report anything suspicious to the police. SA News, California.
If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends and family.